Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic, and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. It's brought to you by Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic, and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. It's brought to you by SCDHEC. Visit scdhec.gov for an updated list of testing and vaccination sites and info to help protect yourself, your family, and friends from the coronavirus. SCDHEC, healthy people, healthy communities. In it together, SC and the South Carolina Diabetes Advisory Council, presenting Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday on Coping with COVID. The City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, helping to meet the needs of small, minority, and women-owned businesses in the City of Columbia. Visit columbiasc.net/OBO. Agape Counseling and Training Services. Call 803-779-2777 for licensed professionals of counselors and social workers helping families, engaged and married couples, and individuals of all ages gain an understanding of all aspects of their lives. If you're having a challenge coping with COVID, visit Agape Counseling and Training Services at agapects.com. The Comet Bus System, a fast, fun, friendly transit system that can take you anywhere you want to go in the Midlands. So don't miss your shot. Catch the Comet and get a free ride to get your COVID vaccine. Visit catchthecomet.gov. Javis Tax Services, South Carolina's premier full-service financial provider with over 20 years of experience. Palmetto Media Connections, connecting media and communities together. And Computers Unique, Dutch Square Mall. Call Daniel for honest, professional, reliable, and knowledgeable computer sales and service. Coping with COVID from SCDHEC. In it together, the South Carolina Diabetes Advisory Council, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, Agape Counseling and Training Services, the Comet Bus System, Palmetto Media Connections, Javis Financial Services, and Computers Unique.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.
Happy Thursday and welcome to Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. We are so excited and grateful for our partnership with the Fifth Circuit Solicitor's Office. They are going to provide updates, information, and answers to your questions about South Carolina laws. Today, we kick off the monthly feature with No Justice, No Peace with attorney Byron Gipson. Byron, thank you so much for joining us. I hear a little bit of feedback. Can you turn down your volume a little bit?
I can.
Of course, it was fine before we came on the air live, and now it's not.
No worries.
Yeah. So can you still hear me?
I can.
Okay, awesome. I still hear a little bit of feedback, but I'm going to do some news, do some PSAs, and then if you can turn down your volume just a little bit, we'll be right back with you, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
That's No Justice, No Peace, our year-long session with the Fifth Circuit Solicitor's Office. Attorney Byron Gipson is going to join us coming up next. But first, your COVID community updates. More than 2,000 power outages were reported in Richland County overnight this morning after a night and early morning of Tropical Storm Elsa. Several other South Carolina counties reported outages also. But at this hour, most people have their power restored. According to local meteorologists, do expect some rain, but the bulk of the storm has passed. But do watch out for flooding. Face masks are no longer required on South Carolina school buses, but while the South Carolina Department of Education says it is now included in the state's mask prohibition adopted by the General Assembly, the CDC says districts can still encourage and request them to be worn, just not enforce it. And Chick-fil-A is the best fast food restaurant in the United States for the 7th straight year. Chick-fil-A has come out on top, according to the American Customer Satisfaction Index. Now, they beat out full-service restaurants, including Longhorn, Olive Garden, and Texas Roadhouse. Domino's was number one for pizza places. Five Guys made the list for the first time, and coming in at the bottom, Jack in the Box, Popeyes, Sonic, Wendy's, and McDonald's. On the screen right now are the 5 best fast food restaurants in the United States. Are any of those your favorites? I'm Tre Tailor, and visit SCDHEC for the most up-to-date list of times, dates, and locations for COVID testing and vaccines in and around South Carolina. Visit scdheck.gov for more information. Also, several places are offering COVID vaccinations in and around our state. Check the scroll at the bottom of the screen throughout the show. We're going to give you all of the locations within South Carolina, but we are going to mention a couple right now. Kroger pharmacies, as a matter of fact, are offering COVID vaccinations. Let's stop by your local Kroger grocery store in the pharmacy for information about that and check the screen for details. Also, CVS pharmacies, the CVSs that are located independently and those that are located in Target stores, all of them are also offering COVID vaccinations. Now, if you or someone you know is a senior citizen or having some challenges going online to actually set up your COVID vaccination, Get Set Up is offering seniors free classes on how to schedule their COVID vaccination. The Comet Bus System, a proud sponsor of Coping with COVID, also is giving free rides to catch the comet and get your vaccination. Now, you can also go to some of the local, to the Comet bus station at the corner of Laurel and Sumter Street, and they are also offering COVID vaccinations. Now, if you lost someone due to COVID, FEMA is still giving COVID-related funeral reimbursements. Check the screen for more information about that. Several places in and around South Carolina are offering rental and bill assistance, including richlandcountysc.gov. Log on to the website and get the information you need about getting help, not only for your rental assistance, but also for your bills. Also, that also includes Dominion Energy. They also have a electricity and South Carolina bill assistance program. Now, the Affordable Care Act going on, open enrollment until August. Not only can you have the opportunity to get you some health insurance, register for some health insurance, enroll in health insurance, even if you already have enrolled in health insurance, they suggest that you log on anyway and see if you are eligible for some additional benefits. That's the Affordable Care Act at ACA. Now, the City of Columbia is extending their 6-month payment plan for water bills. Plus, they have payment assistance up to 75% off. Don't forget to log on to the City of Columbia water bill website for more information. The South Carolina Department of Mental Health has several programs available for helping people that need some mental health resources. They have their SC Hopes initiative to help people who are coping with COVID. The statewide summer feeding program is still going on. Check that website for more information. And coming up this weekend, Grace Christian Church is having a free Men's Health Matters COVID vaccination. Now, whether you need your first shot or your second shot, you don't have to make an appointment, but you can certainly go by Grace Christian Church and get the vaccination that you need to get you protected against COVID-19. I'm Tre Tailor, and you're watching Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. We are streaming live on the Tailor Made production page. Visit it, go over there, hit like and share and follow. Not only will you be able to watch Coping with COVID Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at 2 p.m., but you can also get all of your COVID-related updates. We also have a presence on Instagram, and also we're streaming live on YouTube. So if you are joining us on YouTube, I want to say hello. Thank you so much for joining us. And please don't forget to hit the subscribe button. I'm Tre Tailor, and once again, you're watching Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. Don't forget to post, share, like, follow, and please ask your questions as we begin our month-long series with attorney Byron Gipson with the Solicitor's Office. Byron, you sound great now. Can you hear me?
I can.
Good, good. You sound great. Thank you so much for taking care of the feedback. So excited to have the opportunity to partner with the 5th Circuit Solicitor's Office to bring this series. And it's really a commitment for you, Byron. You have launched the No Justice, No Peace initiative. Tell us a little bit about that.
All right. It comes from just years ago, in some of my big brain ideas. I mean, we've always seen just through protests and whatnot, no justice, no peace. And there's truth to that. But my thought is that if we can educate one another a little bit more about what each of us does, what each of our roles is, and how all of those roles together make the wheel turn the way that it needs to turn, then in that vein, we'll be in a better place. So no justice, if we can teach a little bit about what justice is, then and what our role is with doing justice, especially in the solicitor's office, then I think that can go a long way towards having more peaceful outcomes all the way across the board.
Great. And it's KNOW justice, KNOW peace. I love that. And you're right. I think people not only don't know the information, we want to know information, and sometimes don't know where to go or how to get the information that we need.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And that helps too with our office. Just again, knowing our role and us being as transparent as possible so that you can see what we're doing, how we do it, and ask questions. Because quite frankly, one of the shortcomings that our office can have is just sometimes just we have a job to do. We do that job, but we don't always communicate what we're doing and how we're doing it. And so sometimes the how is not necessarily it gets to be intricate as to why we're doing some of what we do, but to know what we're doing and that there's a thought process behind it matters. And you need to know some of the people who are making these decisions so that you can trust that what we're doing is fair and just.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that. Tell us, what does the solicitor's office do? Now, you were here a couple of months ago, but I want to kind of go over some of this basic information first, because do we even know what the solicitor's office does? Do we even know what a solicitor is?
Right.
So let's start with Solicitor's Office 101. Sure.
So 101 is simple. The solicitor is an old English term that's used, and basically it's the DA, the district attorney. And so the solicitor is the district attorney for whatever district he or she represents. So in this case, I represent the Fifth Circuit, which is all of Richland County and all of Kershaw County. And that's on state matters, not federal matters, but state matters. Okay. Right? So state court.
So what kind of matters? You said it's state matters. What kind of matters does your office handle?
We handle mostly felonies. There are going to be some misdemeanors that our office handles. For instance, when it comes to criminal domestic violence, we have prosecutors in our office who handle those matters, whether it be city court or even county court, and DUI cases, driving under the influence cases. Those misdemeanors we handle. We can be called upon by the sheriff's department or even the city of Columbia to sometimes handle other misdemeanors, that may be higher profile, or if they need some assistance, some special assistance, we can assist with those. But mostly what you're going to see is felony cases, or those cases that take place in what we call General Sessions Court, which is 1701 Main Street, if you're talking about Richland County, or it's in Kershaw County, the Kershaw County Courthouse.
Okay. All right. We're talking to Solicitor Byron Gipson with the Fifth Circuit Solicitor's Office. We are launching our series. He'll be here every second Thursday, called No Justice, No Peace. So if you have questions or comment, please drop them in the chat, and we'll be glad to get them to him so he can answer those questions. Now, Byron, there are different types of courts. Can you tell us about the different types of courts that there are?
Sure. You have at least you look at it in different levels. So in South Carolina, we have magistrates courts, or some people call them summary courts. Those are generally, again, for misdemeanors. So when I say a misdemeanor, generally you're talking about offenses that you could receive around 30 days in jail, sometimes a little bit more here or there, fines less than $1,000. And then you have general sessions courts, which or again, more so felonies. And again, there's some special misdemeanors that fit there. But generally, you're looking at a crime that could entail a penalty of more than 1 year in jail, and fines over $1,000. And so those are your two kind of criminal types of courts that we have jurisdiction of. But again, you have family courts. Our office has no jurisdiction over family courts. That's its own entity. So you hear about child support matters, things of that nature. Those are not even looked at or even contemplated in our office, because those are not criminal matters. So although sometimes you'll see a child support matter where jail could be an option if a person falls in arrears, that does not come under the umbrella of our office. You also have federal courts, and again, that's a completely different animal. So if something happens on say Fort Jackson or some type of federal property, or if there's a particular crime that reaches the level that it can be looked at federally, such as maybe gun crimes, or if something is crossing, if you have drug enterprises, or even if it's not drugs, if it's things that are going by wire, meaning wire fraud or bank fraud, things of that nature, those things can go federal. Drug cases that cross over state lines can go federal. So there are other types of jurisdictions that can kind of take into its web state court matters, but generally we're dealing with, just the matters that happen in state court, that we have that jurisdiction that I mentioned to you, but strictly for me, things that happen in Richland and Kershaw County. You have 16 solicitors, so you have 16 circuits in South Carolina. And so there's solicitors with equal power within each one of their circuits.
All right. So but all of those 16 fall under the Fifth Circuit, so to speak, but they handle different areas. Is that?
Well, no, actually we fall under kind of the state system. And so each of us has our own jurisdiction. So for instance, you have the circuit that includes Lexington. So it includes Lexington, Saluda, McCormick, Edgefield, and one other county that I left out. But you have, Lexington County Solicitor's Office that handles those. There's an Orangeburg County Solicitor's Office, which is the First Circuit, and that's got Orangeburg County, Calhoun County, Dorchester County.
Okay.
The Second Circuit, which is Aiken, Barnwell, and Bamberg. And so each one kind of has a geographical area that it handles matters within those areas.
Right. We're talking to Solicitor Byron Gipson. This is the first of monthly installment, No Justice, No Peace, with Attorney Byron Gipson with the Fifth Circuit Solicitor's Office. We are doing a little Solicitor's Office 101 right now. This is the website. Now, Byron, if people want to know basically what the Solicitor's Office does or any information, is this kind of a one-stop place where they can get that information? And we're looking at the website now.
It is, and that's what we hope for it to be. It talks a little bit about what we do, the members of the office, and some of the different programs that we handle. So as you're scrolling through there, it talks about diversion programs, which include PTI. It includes expungements. Then we talk about some of the different courts that we have within, or some of the affiliated services that we have within our office. And so, for instance, and I think your question was kind of speaking to this as well. When there are certain types of felonies, sometimes we can take a look at a case and say, hey, you know what? We've established something that's called a drug court. And so if we can see that the person who was charged has had some type of history or some issue with drugs or substance abuse, then oftentimes, we have control. My office has jurisdiction over those cases, and I can appoint it to drug court, to push it over to drug court, so that person can be supervised and receive some of that help that he or she needs. We have a similar court for veterans. We have a similar court for folks that have had mental health challenges. And so as we look at that, we have a whole department within this office with professionals who can screen, take a look at those things, and then and admit people into those programs if they are willing to abide by the constraints of each of those programs. Yeah,
that's so good to know, because you cannot dump everybody into the same bag. There are certain situations, like you said, a homeless person is not going to have the same situation, obviously, like you or me, or a veteran, or whatever the case may be. So I love that there is a concerted effort to kind of figure out what the issue is, what the specific issue is, and then kind of, meet that need within the court system.
That's right. And I mean, the days of just locking people up and throwing away the key, those days are gone. Yeah. And part of what I bring to the table is, I was a criminal defense attorney for 21 or so years. And so being on the other side and seeing what these issues are, and you're sitting across the table from families and seeing, sometimes a person may actually be guilty of a crime that they were accused of doing, but there may be reasons why. Right. And so if you can address some of those root causes in the process, then the person can come out better for the whole process. For the whole situation, if they're willing to commit to doing those things that need to happen, which sometimes are counseling, going to different classes and just kind of, sometimes there's a structure that needs to be in place.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're just, demons that we all have, that sometimes if you have a chance to talk about them and meet about them and understand them and learn how to cope with them, then it puts you in a position so that when you get past these charges, because most charges that people get at some point in time, they're going to be free of the courts, but they still have to go and live a life. And if you're in a better position to have received some of those life skills to handle those challenges differently, you may never see our court again unless you're just walking through or walking by. And that's the ultimate prayer, that we can help people, that we can serve our community, that we can protect people, because our communities need a level of protection as well that our office has to offer by the way that we handle our business.
Yeah, we're talking to Attorney Byron Gipson, the Fifth Circuit Solicitor's Office. We've been looking at their website, and I want to go back to the website right quick, Byron, because this I thought was interesting. Are you a victim of financial crime? Could you qualify for the worthless check program? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, the worthless check program oftentimes is something used by business owners. What we're finding is that people don't write as many checks as they used to. Yeah. And so, but we still work very efficiently with folks who essentially have bounced a check. And the old way of doing it is, you bounce a check, a warrant is drafted, and the person is picked up, arrested, and then at that point in time, they're pulled into court, and they have to account for whatever happened with that check. Essentially, what the worthless check unit allows you to do is it notifies you that you've bounced this check, and it gives you a period of time to rectify it, get the money over to the business, and it prevents you from having to go through the criminal justice system the way that you used to have to go through it. It's an acceptance of responsibility, a payment of the check, and then we work with you from there.
Yeah. That's good. That's good to know. You're right. It's so interesting. You should say that, a lot of people are not writing checks anymore, but there's still some financial crimes going on.
I promise you there's plenty of it. We've some of the local grocery stores still take checks, and there are a lot of businesses that, while they may do some things online, they still take checks. So I see that. So when the restitution comes through, and when I say restitution, meaning the money that is owed to that business, when that money comes through, I personally sign those checks for the businesses so that they can get the monies back that they're out of. Because it's not equivalent as a business owner to have been, sometimes intentionally, sometimes not intentional, to have provided a service and then not be paid for it.
We're talking to Attorney Byron Gipson with the Fifth Circuit Solicitor's Office. It's no justice, no peace. He's going to be here every second Thursday to talk about what's happening in the Solicitor's Office, to talk about legal issues, what's happening with the law, to answer your questions. So if you do have a question, please not only post it in the chat, please post and share this information out, because he's going to, he's been sharing what's just some great information with us. And we're going to get into a couple of things. On your Facebook page, because you do also have a Facebook page, and I want to share that, Byron. It talks a little bit about the Columbia Homeless Court. Is that a little bit, that's what you were talking about before, the homeless court?
I was. That's another court I didn't mention as well. I knew you'd speak about that a little bit. Homeless courts are important for us as well, because generally with homeless courts, if a person is, obviously without a stable residence, and they've collected, in this case, magistrate level offenses, so essentially 30-day offenses, those folks can be referred over to our program. We get referrals from city court. We get referrals from police officers here, because in the city of Columbia, and sometimes even folks who have been victims of crime. And that gives folks, again, a chance to have whatever counseling that may be needed. There may be sometimes a mental health issue that we can talk about and meet with as well. And then once that's done, then we dispose of that case, sometimes dismissing the case or finding a softer landing for that person. But homelessness has become a major problem in the city, and our city's been aggressive about trying to provide shelters and to through training and just other initiatives through Oliver Gospel Mission and some of the other groups that are here that have committed to fighting and combating homelessness. But I think our courts need to speak to that, and that was one of the things that our homeless court does do. We were one of the first in the state of South Carolina to have a homeless court. And so we work hard to ensure that we're meeting the needs of the citizens here.
Yeah, we're looking at the Facebook page, and you can log on to Facebook at Fifth Circuit Solicitor's Office and find out more information about updates according to concerning the Fifth Circuit Solicitor's Office. We're talking to Byron Gipson. Byron, let's talk about, and we've got a lot to talk about unpacking this hour, but I want to talk about a couple of recent cases. One, the Mandy Fortsman one. Tell us a little bit about that. What happened with that, and what has happened? What did and what is happening?
Sure. The Fortson matter was it was a difficult matter because there's a woman who in a Rosewood community just decided one day that she just had a problem with peoples of color. So essentially black folks and Hispanic folks. And she went in her backyard, started firing a pistol into the homes of a black, of a Hispanic family and to an apartment complex. And ultimately she hit one of the residents of who happened to be an African-American man, happened to hit him in the wrist and in the hip.
Wow.
So we tried that case and ultimately got a conviction, and the court sentenced her to 20 years in jail for what she did.
Wow. So she basically just got mad with her her neighbors and just started shooting.
That's the best that we could glean. Could never get a straight answer, even when I cross-examined her, couldn't get a straight answer as to why. I mean, she denied it, but all of the evidence pointed to the fact that it was her. The victim, the person who was hit by her gunfire, saw her doing it.
Wow.
Neighbor who she was yelling at as she shot into his home while his family was there, saw her doing it. And just 911 calls and other things made it very clear that that was the person, that we had the right person.
Yeah. And so she's been convicted.
She has been convicted and was sentenced to 20 years in jail.
Wow. Now, in something like that, is she going to be up for parole anytime soon?
No, what happens with attempted murder is she was charged with attempted murder and firing into a dwelling. Those are 85%ers, as you may hear people refer to sometimes. So she's going to have to serve at least 85% of that sentence before she can be released from jail.
Wow. Just
yeah. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on, and it's a sad story. Even that, I mean, you get two families at their home having dinner, watching TV, just minding their own business, not bothering anybody, and all of a sudden they hear this commotion outside and somebody firing a gun because they, for whatever reason, in their mind, decided they had problems with blacks and Hispanics. Major issue.
And I was going to say something about that. I mean, and I want to talk about hate crimes a little bit later on in the show.
Sure.
But I think it just says so much about the mentality of people in our community. I mean, we've seen it over the last year. I mean, we've seen it for years, but over the last year with what I call the twindemic, which was COVID and racism, it's really reared its ugly head to me even more. Do you think so?
It certainly seems that way. And I mean, a lot of it, some of these things have been going on for years, meaning just some of the underlying hatred. But it just seems like, once COVID hit,
right,
and it's the perfect storm of social media, and then having people in positions of power who are just kind of stoking the fire and putting out, information that's oftentimes wrong or fabricated or just outright lies, to kind of hit hot button issues that they know make people mad. And just stoking that fire. It seems like all of that, it just came to be the perfect storm. And so we've seen some ugliness. Some of it you see playing itself out over social media, playing itself out, throughout the nation, playing itself out in communities, not just in South Carolina, but just nationwide. You see it everywhere.
Yeah. We're talking to attorney Byron Gipson. He is the Fifth Circuit Solicitor. He's with the Solicitor's Office. And if you want more information, you can see the website and also the phone number there. He's going to be with us every second Thursday with the series No Justice, No Peace, as we kind of crack open South Carolina's justice system. If you have a question or a comment, please continue to post and share this information out so we can get this message to the masses. There was another recent case about a property dispute.
Sure. It was, I believe, the Volstromer case. This was a matter in the I guess in the east side of the county, where just again neighbors. I won't say again, but this particular time, neighbors were disputing a property line, and at some point in time, it had been a dispute that had been going on for several months, and a lot of jabs, being verbal jabs, being going back and forth. But this particular day and time, one of the property owners just got tired of this argument and walked outside and shot the gentleman who was across the fence line, not on his property. Shot and killed him.
And killed him.
Shot and killed him over a property dispute, over a dirt dispute, a property dispute.
Over this is my property, not your property. This is my line.
This is my line. This road that you're standing on is really my property. So you don't have a right to be there. And they had been going back and forth. And again, granted, I don't even want to say granted. I mean, they had been going back and forth verbally for some period of time, but that type of argument, should never end in somebody dying and being shot.
Yeah. So what did end up happening?
He was found guilty and sentenced to, I believe, 45 years.
Oh, Lord, have mercy. And there you look at something that now has affected two families.
That's right.
Someone's passed away and someone's in jail for the next 45 years.
And the difference between, we talked about, parole and things of that nature. That is not an option if you're convicted of murder in South Carolina. If you're convicted of murder in South Carolina, you serve day for day, meaning every day of that sentence. And so over a situation that could and should have been resolved by way of surveying the property and maybe changing the lines if there was truly a valid dispute there, has now, like you said, irreparably changed two lives.
Yeah. We're talking to attorney Byron Gipson. No Justice, No Peace is the monthly series. He's going to be here every second Thursday, answering our questions, breaking down the South Carolina judicial system. We've got so much more to talk about. We're going to take a quick break, Byron. And when we come back, we're going to talk about a initiative that Byron and his office are getting ready to launch to help people who have outstanding bench warrants. Also, when we come back, did you miss a court date due to COVID? How you can rectify that? Plus, what happens when you move, change your phone number, and the one simple thing Attorney Gipson says you can do to really affect some change. That and more coming up next on Coping with COVID when we talk more about No Justice, No Peace. We'll be right back.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor. Updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. Brought to you by SCDHEC. Visit scdhec.gov for testing and vaccination sites. SCDHEC. Healthy people, healthy communities. In it together, SC and the South Carolina Diabetes Advisory Council presenting Wellness Wednesday every week on Coping with COVID. The City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, helping to meet the needs of small, minority, and women-owned businesses in the City of Columbia. Agape Counseling and Training Services. If you're having a challenge coping with COVID, visit Agape Counseling and Training Services at agapects.com. The Comet Bus System, offering free rides to get your COVID vaccine. Don't miss your shot. Visit catchthecomet.gov. Javis Financial Services, with over 20 years of experience. Computers Unique, Dutch Square Mall. Honest, professional, reliable computer sales and service. Palmetto Media Connections, connecting media and communities together. Coping with COVID from SCDHEC. In it together, SC, the South Carolina Diabetes Advisory Council, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, Agape Counseling and Training Services, the Comet Bus System, Javis Financial Services, Computers Unique, and Palmetto Media Connections.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.
Let Palmetto Painting Services take the worry out of your next home painting project. We can paint anything. Our business is about interior painting and exterior painting. We offer services for residential and commercial properties. Restore the life to your home with a fresh coat of paint from Palmetto Painting Services. References are available upon request. Give us a call at 803-546-4570 today.
Computers, they're a part of our everyday lives. But when they're not working, they're an everyday problem. So call Computers Unique, your everyday solution. 803-351-5821. Is your computer running slow? Won't turn on? Do you need a screen replaced? Or maybe you just need another computer? Well, Computers Unique is your one-stop shop for all your computer needs. They have a wide variety of new and pre-owned PCs, Macs, and tablets. So call Computers Unique, Dutch Square Mall. 803-351-5821. 803-351-5821.
When it comes to you, I have all anything, money, finances, access to. That's what will save you money. James Tax Service. Only tax driver. James Tax Service. Look up, come to you. James Tax Service. Handling your money out of hours. James Tax Service. Now you know what to do.
Visit Davis Tax Service today, 803-419-1001.
Good afternoon. I'm Tre Tailor, and you are watching Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. Want you to go over to the TailorMade production page on Facebook, hit like and follow, post and share. Also, we're streaming live on YouTube, so please hit the subscribe button and again, post and share this information out as we continue our monthly series, No Justice, No Peace, with attorney Byron Gipson with the Fifth Circuit Solicitor's Office. Hey, Byron, thank you again so much for joining us. He has launched this initiative to connect with the community and address some issues and concerns. How has COVID affected the court system, Byron?
COVID has been a major, I guess, encumbrance to a lot of things that we've needed to do. First, I believe it was March 15th of last year, so 2020. Once we received the order shutting down courts, in effect, we had to stop all court when COVID truly reared its head, or initially reared its head. That meant every trial that had been set, we set these trials sometimes 6 to 8 months in advance. And so every trial that had been placed that was supposed to be heard during that period of time essentially was taken off of the docket because there was no court. There were no jury trials. Ultimately, we were able to, little by little, start to do smaller things. When I say smaller, that doesn't mean they're less important.
Right.
But we were able to do other matters in court. So we were able to virtually handle pleas. So we were able to do some things like handle some of the nonviolent matters at Alvin S. Glenn, where people were housed in the county jail. We were able to do some of those matters and take care of some of those cases. We kept doing bond court, the entire time. We were able to move some cases, but ultimately we could not hold jury trials until probably around early October. There was about a 2-month phase where we held jury trials, but again, COVID reared its head again, and we had to stop holding court for a period of time. And so we really just reestablished being able to hold court full time in March of this year. So essentially, we lost about 10 months of trials. Which has backed us up even further. Our docket has I say blown up, but it's just increased by probably about a net of about almost 5,000 cases that came in that we were not able to move. So it's probably about a 35% growth, almost 40% growth in our docket in 1 year because of the inability to handle court matters as efficiently as we used to.
If you missed a court date due to COVID, what should you do?
If you missed, and again, we're talking about general sessions matters because each court kind of handled things a little bit differently. But Judge Edmonds, who was the chief administrative judge for magistrate courts, the chief magistrate in Richland County, I know they postponed court many times. So if folks had sometimes traffic tickets or any type of matter, sometimes it may have been a simple assault, or it could have been even a DUI case, and things that would have been handled in magistrate's court, and you have a warrant, you need to call, a warrant, a ticket. You really need to have called them. Generally, it's written on a blue ticket, those matters. You got to call those courts and just determine when that court date is. There's a public index that may list those matters. If you go to the Richland County website, You can look in under a public index and see what kind of criminal matters are pending, but I can't tell you how up to date that is when it relates to magistrate level matters. So if there was a court date that you were supposed to have had, could have been a car accident and you may have been ticketed for an accident, you got to call, because at some point in time that thing is going to be rescheduled, and it is, they're supposed to send you a notice, but you just got to call and check up on it, because if you've moved, if you've changed an address or a phone number or something like that, if that notice gets mailed to your last known address, that's considered proper under the law. And so if you need to change your address with DMV, if you've moved, but you got to have some way of having them, be able to get in contact with you. But the best way is just take the initiative and call and see if you missed a court date. If it's a general sessions court date, we did not issue bench warrants for a particular period of time because of COVID, because we knew notice could be a little bit different and sometimes a little bit more difficult as mail was running more slowly. And so what we ended up doing is we've had what we call first appearances in a series of those. And during those times, we like to alert people as to when their next court date will be. So we tried to do those as efficiently as we could, but not issuing bench warrants. So the question is, what is a bench warrant? A bench warrant is if once a person is arrested in general sessions court, if they do not come to court, a bench warrant is issued for their arrest, which means that they've now violated a condition of the bond. They did not appear in court when they were supposed to appear. And so at that point, a warrant is issued from their arrest from the bench, which meaning the judge issues the warrant. And that means they can be picked up and arrested and at some point brought back into court for not appearing as they promised to appear. And so that's what a bench warrant is. We didn't issue those during COVID, but since courts have been back in place, we do have the power to do that. And some judges are requesting that we issue warrants if people do not come to their court dates.
Right. Well, let's put a comma right there, because I want to get back to that, because I want to know what's a bench warrant as opposed to another kind of warrant. But before we get into that, Attorney Gipson, let me ask you, so is there a way, you said people can call to find out what their fines are, if they missed the court date, all of that. Is there any way they can go online and find that information out?
That when it comes to the magistrate courts, and I don't want you to quote me on this one, because again, that's not necessarily not necessarily my wheelhouse, but I'd say you got to call the magistrate's court. And so that in Richland County, that's on Decker Boulevard, that Decker complex. It's a beautiful new complex. It's relatively new. And for those who've been in Columbia for a while, there used to be a Target and a Kroger in that shopping area. Well, that's been repurposed now, and that's now a magistrate's court. It's got everything state of the art, but you got to call them. And that office used to actually be on Hugh G Street, but it moved about 3 years ago. So that's going to be the place that you got to go, or at least call and get an idea as to whether or not you have a court date, and if it's outstanding. If you got to change some information in the system with them so that they can get in contact with you, you would want to do that. If you've got a lawyer on one of these matters, then that should be his or her job to do that. But you got to stay in contact with that person so they can make sure, you got to, and having been in private practice for a long time before I became solicitor, you got to be in contact with them and let them know your contact information. Right. Because it doesn't, you're not getting the full service of what you paid for when you hire a lawyer if you do not stay in contact with that person, if they don't know how to contact you if something happens. And so that's a kind of a bad feeling to have when you have a client and can't get in contact with him or her because they changed an address and you can't locate them, or a phone number you can't locate them.
And that is usually given, that's usually updated based on your driver's license or your state ID. Is that correct? Correct.
It's usually updated that particular way, or quite, and that's, so that's what they're going to use if they're writing a ticket of some sort, whatever is on that state ID. And so if you don't change it at DMV, then they won't be able to send you something to tell you that, there's a particular court date, or if you don't change it with the courts or your lawyer. But it has to be changed in the system in order for you to, it just has to be changed in the system, but they're going to get in contact with you because they're going to send things to your last known address.
So if you change your address, and a lot of people did change their address because of COVID, because a lot of people were losing homes, changing apartments, they've been dislocated, relocated. What do you need to do if you are no longer, or even if you have a new phone number, how do you have to go, I guess, is that a DMV thing? You got to go to DMV, or do you go straight to the court and say, hey, I might have something out here. Here's my new address.
Your ID needs to be updated through DMV.
Okay.
Because that's going to be kind of that central place where it gets done. And then they need to issue you a new ID with that new address on it.
Yeah.
And so that's really the first place. And then after that, then I think each of the other places, just doing your due diligence. It doesn't hurt to alert the court. I mean, sometimes people call our office directly and say, hey, you know what, I moved and I just want to make sure that my information is correct in the system in case, you got to send something to me. Normally we're sending things to the attorney, but it is good for us to have that address in case we need it. So, contact, if it's a warrant that you have in our office, contacting us, contacting your lawyer, contacting, if you've got the public defender's office representing you, contacting them, because you just never know when they're going to need to get in contact with you. And every time they call you, it doesn't mean it's bad news.
Right.
So
pick up the phone.
Exactly. They got to be able to get in contact with you, because there are plenty of times when they're calling you to get some, to get some information from you or to relay some important information to you. But if they can't reach you, then it puts everybody in a position, because they can't speak up for you and represent you properly if they don't have your information. So you got to do that so that you can stay, you can just stay involved in the process and just be a part of any litigation that may be involving you.
We're talking to attorney Byron Gipson with the Fifth Circuit Solicitor's Office. My name is Tre Tailor. This is No Justice, No Peace. To your point about, making sure you stay in touch, I know that you are getting ready to launch a series of, I guess, bench warrant resolution events, for lack of a better word. Tell us about those, Byron. Who can come to these events, and what exactly is it?
Okay. And I'm glad you asked that question, Trey. This is an event. It's an initiative that I've been working on for some time, at least 7 or 8 months. I've been meeting with a group of people just kind of throughout the nation who have done some things with criminal justice reform, who have put on different programs throughout the nation just about trying to resolve warrant matters. And the reason for this, I mean, we've had at some points in time in Columbia, and what people have called amnesty courts. Mm-hmm. And those have acted as a time to come in if you have a warrant to sometimes get matters resolved without the threat of going to jail. That's important. That's been done sometimes through the sheriff's department, sometimes through the city, and that's important. But what I'm speaking of here is a larger measure that will be, first of all, it's going to start in the county, so in Richland County. Then ultimately we'll move over to Kershaw County as well. But we're looking to have warrant resolution matters wherein if you have a misdemeanor, if you have a bench warrant, which we just talked about, if it's been issued because you did not come to court, right. And even importantly, this is something that normally solicitors' offices can't do, but child support warrants. If you have those things that are pending, then what needs to happen is once our court is up and running, you'll have an opportunity to come and we'll give us your information. We'll be reaching out to you in ways that we can. If we have your information, we'll be soliciting you, kind of reaching out to us so that we can, collect your information. And if you have that, then calling you in and saying, hey, come to this particular location on this particular day. My office will be there. The public defenders will be there. There will likely be judges there from either family court and maybe a magistrate as well. We'll determine what we need based on the response that we get. We'll have additional services there as well. Whether it be the fatherhood initiative, whether it be, folks that are counselors, for just different, whether it's drug rehabilitation issues, things of that nature. We'll have, some job services there as well. But just having an ability to do several things at one time. But the main thing is to have that bench warrant removed, meaning rescinded, and then putting you back on track so you don't have the threat of arrest. Once that bench warrant is issued and that information is issued is entered into a system called the NCIC index, then anytime a person is blue lighted or arrested, then if that comes up, they're going to have to go to jail. And so what we're proposing is having this court here so that if you have these pending matters, which, from our count, it looks like there's a minimum of about 1,200 or so warrants out there that could qualify for this immediately. That's probably at least 500, about between 300 and 500 people who can
In
benefit
Richland
from
County
this court.
alone.
In Richland County alone. And that's just general sessions matters. We're not even talking about child support. And so that gives you an opportunity to resolve these matters without having the police knocking on your door, or without you having to, kind of go to, this person's house or that person's house, trying to, kind of evade law enforcement in some way, shape, or form. It lets you just come out and handle it. We can handle it, get you back on track, and then you can just get back to the business of living your life. And then you'll resolve the matter when it gets resolved. But at least the bench warrant's not there.
Right.
And to me, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. And I was going to say, and it's a safe place where people can come, get their stuff resolved, and then go back home and not be arrested, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I say one of the things that is just important to me is we look at this. It just keeps coming back in my mind, the Walter Scott matter. This was a matter down in North Charleston. There was a fear, we've learned that there's a fear that there was a child support warrant for his arrest.
Right.
And so once he was blue lighted, we've learned that he felt like he needed to try to evade police because he didn't want to go to jail because there's a pending child support warrant.
Right.
If we can provide a safe landing place for situations like that, so that if a person sees that that's out there, they can come to that court and meaning our court, and there's a family court judge there. We can rework whatever is there, and you can walk out of there, with your shoulder squared away, knowing, all right, this is squared away. That warrant is no longer out here for my arrest. Maybe we can alleviate, that fear or that thought that if there's a police officer that blue lights me, that I may have to try to evade him or her in some way, shape, or form.
And
we're
not
hoping to
knowing
save
what the
lives.
outcome of that's going to be.
Exactly. Not knowing it. And that I was told a long time ago, the best way to avoid a punch is not to be there.
Right.
And so if there are ways that we can have programs in place that give people options, that they can at least move from point A to point B and get some of these encumbrances off of them. And they can do it in a way that's dignified, where you're not having to come in, like you got your head down begging for something.
Yeah.
You're not begging for anything. Sometimes
Right.
you just missed a court date. Things happen.
Yeah.
And so we want to be a partner in helping you do those things so that you can work and take care of your family and do those other things without the fear of these bench warrants that may possibly be out there. So we're working on a process now so we can notify people who have them. We're trying to, kind of dot I's and cross T's before we unveil it completely. But it's going to be a very big initiative, and I know it can make a positive difference in a lot of people's lives. So I'm extremely excited about it.
Yeah, that's very exciting. That's big. And I know, I'm just going to, just say, I know that you are working with a lot of people in the community to make sure this is really meeting the people's needs. It's not just something that you and the folks in your office are working on. You're reaching out to people in the community who are in the community, not only community organizers, people who are neighborhood heads, to make sure you are reaching the right people.
That's right. And it's important because there's nothing worse than being preached to or preached at all the time.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you get in these offices, it's easy to do that. You stand on this mountaintop thinking you know all of this stuff. I'm not going to try to act like I do. I mean, a lot of the things that I've learned here is from personal experience with, having, been a criminal defense lawyer for so many years. So you see certain things, but life has changed. And attitudes have changed just in that short period of time that I've been solicitor, in that 3 years or so that I've been solicitor. And so just to hear what the concerns are and why people are concerned and why they don't want to participate in a program, the issues with trust that are out there with different offices and with law enforcement all together, not just police, but prosecution agencies. And some of that is well earned. I'll say that. I've said it before. We got to know those things so that we can fix it and we can offer programs and offer assistance in a way that is going to be tailored to what communities really need. Not what we think they need, but what they're telling us they need.
Right.
So we've kind of held a few listening sessions so that we can know much better what communities are asking for, what they're yearning for, so we can speak to that problem, speak to that issue, and provide a service. So it's more important to understand that this office, the solicitor's office, is not just about locking people up. It's about doing justice and finding ways that we can bring justice to you and bring you, a better quality of life. There's so much more that we provide, But, let's be real. Part of what we do does involve getting in the courtroom, mixing it up, and sometimes locking people up, because in some situations that has to happen. But we also have other initiatives that we can provide, and we can do a lot of good when we partner with communities. And that's what we're aiming to do right now.
So when people come to this event, what does it mean? Will their charges be cleared? Will their warrants be dropped? Will they still have to go to court?
They'll still have to go to court, but the key is right now, if there's a bench warrant that's out there, if there's a warrant for child support that's out there, then that means they can be picked up immediately. And so what we're doing is clearing that, getting them back on track, clearing it out of that system so that they can't be arrested for that, as long as they abide by, the terms of whatever that new agreement is. If it's a child support matter and the court says you have to pay a certain percentage. And again, we'll be able to break those parameters out to you a little bit better as we finish a little bit more of the research and a little bit more of the work and a little bit more of the meetings with some of the family court judges. But if they say, hey, you need to bring in 10%, and when you bring that 10% in, we'll rework it. If that's what the agreement is, then you got to abide by that agreement. Mm-hmm. And if you do those things, then you'll be in a good position. But one of the bigger things we even talked about in one of the earlier meetings is not only just, rescinding the bench warrants, meaning taking the bench warrants away and taking away that threat of arrest, but also offering services, some incentives, looking, some people that are going to come through are going to have felonies and different encumbrances that may not allow them to work or do the things the way that they would want to, but partnering with different initiatives with the city and different agencies that hire people that have some of those encumbrances and having them there as well. So that's something that we're working towards to make that happen as well.
Right. We're talking to attorney Byron Gipson with the Fifth Circuit Solicitor's Office. I'm Tre Tailor. Please continue to post and share this information out. I know, Byron, we've got about 5 more minutes, and I want to ask you 2 more things. I know there is one thing that you feel can really help people be a game changer in how our African Americans, Black and brown people, are being represented, or the outcomes that people have in the court system. Can you tell us about what that one thing is you think people can really do to affect some change?
Sure. This is going to be extremely offensive to some people, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's this thing called jury duty that exists, and it is probably when you get that slip in the mail, sometimes it's pink, sometimes it's a different color, whether it's federal, whether it's state, whether it's magistrate level. You see that thing, and a lot of people are like, man, come on, I don't want to do this. And they're throwing it away, they're irritated, because it takes time out of your day. It takes time away from your job. Some people don't get paid when they go to jury duty, and you're only getting basically $10 a day, which is, to me, it's not right. You need to talk to your representatives about that. You should be paid more for jury duty. But what some people don't realize is how important that is to the system and to ensuring that people have a fair shake. Oftentimes, and I'd hear this all the time when I was representing people in private practice, is if the jury doesn't look like me, and if it's not a jury of my own peers, and it's not fair, I'm gonna get up here and get judged by these people and judged by this, and a lot of different thoughts about why the system doesn't work. But I'll say this, and this is coming from my criminal defense years and even our solicitor. Oftentimes, the first instinct when people get a summons for jury duty is to try to find a way not to serve, or try to find a way to get out of jury duty. And so every time that you do that, then you got to think about people who have been charged with crimes. And again, you're innocent until proven guilty in our criminal justice system. And so if you feel like the criminal justice system is not working the way that it should, serve, listen, be that person who can speak, as a juror at the appropriate time when it's time to deliberate about the facts of the case. And you can be that person who, within the facts of the case, can talk about just different perspectives and what needs to be thought about. And you can have a part in determining how this community governs itself. Yeah. And so jury duty is important, and it's important to be on a jury and look up and see people that look like you. Yeah. It's important to understand that, how this system works, and you have judges here, you have prosecutors here, you have defense lawyers here, and everybody plays a part. And that's, when you hear about a verdict that's come down, it's because a jury of 12 people has sat there and listened to the facts of the case and come back. So it's only fair. that, you have a jury of your peers, a jury of people that looks like you. And that's only going to happen if all of us, determine that when that time comes, if we're called, we're going to serve, because people deserve to be heard by the community. And if you're, getting out of jury duty, you're not necessarily being a part of the community as you could be, because you can help shape within the rules, within the law, how this community is governed.
You heard it from the solicitor. If you want to affect some change, you got to be in the game. You got to be in the game. You can't be sitting at the barbershop complaining about it. You got to do something about it. Yeah, Byron, before you leave, you sent over a couple of images that I want to go through. This is the information on the expungement. Tell us this, and you talked a little bit about that.
Yeah, expungements are it's a process that the law allows, where we can essentially, when I say we, my office can clear certain things off of your record. So if we're talking about misdemeanor matters that happened years ago, there's certain things that qualify to be expunged, meaning erased from your record. And so if you've got some of those matters that may have happened, when you were younger, maybe it just happened a couple of years ago, whenever, and this is generally not dealing with felonies, we're talking about misdemeanor matters, then you can call our office, 576-1801, and they'll transfer you over to expungements, and you can learn a little bit about what can be expunged, how it can be expunged, and what that process is. That's part of the thing that handcuffed us or hindered us in COVID. We weren't able to get out in the community and talk about these and have the big expungement events that we'd had in the past. Yeah. But those are coming back, where people can come in and have matters taken off of their record that should be off or should have been taken off, or that qualify to be taken off, and you may not have known were even there.
Right. And this one, is this also about expungement? What is this one about?
This is just one of the courts that we talked about when I talked about the treatment courts, drug treatment courts. Mm-hmm. It just speaks a little bit about, someone who may have been charged with a criminal matter, here in General Sessions Court, who's got a substance abuse issue. That can be an opportunity to be a part of that particular court and get the treatment that you need in order to be a better person coming on the other side of this thing.
Okay. And this one? This was the homeless one?
Yeah, that's homeless court. To just let you know a little bit about what we do with homeless courts.
Yeah. And people can find all of this information out on the website, correct?
That's correct. That's correct. The last one that you flashed is a DUI treatment court. So this is for, folks have had multiple DUIs. There's a court where we can talk about alcohol abuse specifically, and just ways to combat that and actually come out of the other side with sometimes even lessening the charge when you come through the entire program.
I tell you, it's really so good to know that there are all of these other alternatives, and just to, get an idea. Really excited about the No Justice, No Peace warrant, bench warrant resolution event. And I know that you, as you continue to craft it, you'll be back to talk more about it. And, we do whatever we can to, get that information out, because you're right. So many situations have gone awry for many Black and brown people, many people in general, just because they were afraid of what might be out there, and if they can just clear that, then maybe that is just a step toward, saving some lives and changing the outcome of some interactions with law enforcement.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better.
Well, thank you. That's Attorney Byron Gipson, No Justice, No Peace, with Attorney Byron Gipson, 5th Circuit Solicitor's Office, Richland and Kershaw County. He's going to be back every second Thursday to talk to us. Don't forget to continue to post and share this out. And if you have a question, hold on to it for next time so we can ask Byron the questions. Byron, thank you again so much, just for not only for coming on, but for your commitment to the community and really being hands-on and making sure some things happen and some things are changed, and perceptions are changed about the office, and that, so people can know you're here for them, not here against them.
Absolutely. I appreciate the opportunity to come on, and anytime you need me, I'm close by.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Byron Gipson, y'all. All right, I'm Tre Tailor. Listen, if you know someone, if you have a product or initiative that could help someone cope with COVID, please go to the TailorMade production page and email me at Tre Tailor at tailormadeproductions.com or copingwithtreitailor@gmail.com. We would love to get you on the show and feature your product or initiative. Or if you would like to be a sponsor of the show, we would love for you to be a proud sponsor of Coping with COVID. We are appreciative of all of our sponsors: SC DHEC, In It Together SC, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, Palmetto Painting Services, Agape Counseling and Training Services, the Comet Bus System, also Computers Unique, Dutch Square Mall, Palmetto Media Connections, and of course, the 5th Circuit Solicitor's Office, Attorney Byron Gipson. As always, I leave you with a reading from Jesus Calling. And today, on this July 8th, Jesus says, "When you seek my face, put aside thoughts of everything else. I am," Jesus says, "above all, your communion with me. It transcends both time and circumstances. So be prepared to be blessed bountiful by my presence. For I am a God of unlimited abundance. Open wide your heart and mind to receive more and more of me. When your joy in me meets my joy in you, there are fireworks of heavenly ecstasy. This is eternal life here and now, a tiny foretaste of what awaits you in the life to come. Now you see only a poor reflection as in a mirror, but then you will see your favor face to face." Thank you again so much for joining us on Coping with COVID. Until the next time, I wish you peace and abundant blessings. I pray that you take care, stay well, be blessed, and don't forget to wear your mask over your nose and under your chin, and get your vaccine. See ya.
Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. It's brought to you by the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control. Visit scdhec.gov for an updated list of testing sites and important information on how to protect yourself, your family, and friends from the coronavirus. SCDHEC, healthy people, healthy communities. In It Together and the South Carolina Diabetes Advisory Council, presenting Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday on Coping with COVID. The City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, helping to meet the needs of small, minority, and women-owned businesses in the City of Columbia. Log on to columbiasc.net/OBO. Agape Counseling and Training Services. Call 803-779-2777 for licensed professionals of counselors and social workers helping families, engaged and married couples, and individuals of all ages gain an understanding of all aspects of their lives. If you're having a challenge coping with COVID, contact Agape Counseling and Training Services at agapects.com. And Palmetto Media Connections, connecting media and communities together. Coping with COVID, brought to you by SCDHEC, In It Together, the Diabetes Advisory Council, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, Agape Counseling and Training Center, and Palmetto Media Connections.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.